So, year four, $12 million in revenue. What made you want to exit? Did somebody did the I know the Hoff bought you guys out? Did they approach you? Were you guys in talks? Were you ready to sell and started? Maybe went to like an M&A broker and started going through the sales process. What did that peel back the onion there? Unlock the secret sauce of millionaire entrepreneurs. This is your exclusive VIP pass to the hidden world of the ultra successful business owners. I'm Chad Kaderi, CEO of DashClicks, and welcome to Behind the Revenue. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Behind the Revenue. And this time we have my good friend Nathan Hirsch from Accounts Balance coming on here. Now, Nathan, I've seen your journey for many years now. I know we're friends on Facebook. You've had companies, you've exited companies, you're starting new companies. Your momentum is crazy and infectious. Just for some context for the viewers, if you can, just tell everybody what you do, who you are, give them a little 1 or 2 minute spiel here.
Yeah, and Chad, pumped to be here. I don't know what year you started DashClicks, but I think it was around when I started FreeUp. So we've both kind of been on Facebook, following each other in connection. So it's fun to connect on this podcast. I'm a longtime entrepreneur. I've never had a real job. I started out of my college dorm room buying and selling textbooks, and that led me to the Amazon space in the early days of being an Amazon seller, 2008, 2009. And really just capitalized on the timing, created this really cash flow positive Amazon business, and ended up selling $25 million over 6 years from my sophomore year in college to 4 or 5 years after college. And really grew that business using virtual assistants, using freelancers. I was in my 20s. Hiring college kids was unreliable. Hiring adults was scary. So I started hiring a lot of VAs and freelancers. And that became the next company, FreeUp. I started offering these VAs and freelancers to different e-commerce sellers, eventually other businesses, real estate agents, market agencies, stuff like that. And that became the FreeUp marketplace. We competed with Upwork and Fiverr. We created a platform that was pre-vetted where you could go and get, hey, I need a graphic designer, and we'd introduce you to someone same day that could hit the ground running. And that business was a lot of fun. It was our first B2B site. We weren't dependent on Amazon. We could build our own website and learn SEO and partnerships and marketing and all the stuff that went into it. We started that with $5,000. We scaled it organically without any paid ads to doing $12 million a year by year 4. And we were acquired in 2019 by an SEO company called The Hoth. And our claim to fame is we had no office, no US employees. We had thousands of VAs and freelancers on the platform, but our internal team was 30 VAs in the Philippines doing everything from bookkeeping to marketing to customer service operations, you name it. And since then, my business partner and I have been growing our new portfolio of businesses. We have Outsource School that teaches people our hiring process so they can plug into their business. We got Accounts Balance and Ecom Balance, our 2 monthly bookkeeping brands, the same monthly bookkeeping systems that we build on our own companies. We have True SEO, our new SEO business. So my whole thing is trying to make business simpler, focusing on hiring, finances, marketing, SEO, the boring stuff that you need to focus on to do well, and really building businesses that do for other companies what we've done in the past for our companies.
Dude, I love it. And most of these podcasts, I've been shamelessly asking questions that I am truly interested in. Once again, it creates so much momentum for these conversations that we have, because so a lot of the things that you said I can relate to. Obviously, we have a software company, in regards to FreeUp, very similar space, right? We work with a lot of digital marketing agencies doing white label fulfillment. I want to kind of go back to the beginning of the journey. I want to actually start with FreeUp. So when you started FreeUp, you said that you scaled it to $12 million per year, and that was just with a team of 30 VAs, right? Now, how long were you running FreeUp for? How long was what was like kind of the growth period?
Yeah, 4 years. So we did $1 million, $5 million, $9 million, $12 million, and then exited in year 4, the end of year 4.
What do you think, like, and you said organic without paid ads, what do you think was the biggest, or what do you know that was the biggest driving factor for such fast growth without paid ads?
Yeah, so it's a lot of things. I mean, you start with timing, right? I had great timing for the Amazon business. FreeUp timing was important too. Like now there's lots of different agencies, lots of different freelance services. Back then there weren't that many. And if you were an e-commerce seller, you could go to Upwork and Fiverr, but you're vetting through a lot of people that didn't have e-commerce experience. So I got to become someone who, hey, I'm an e-commerce seller myself. I have all these VAs, e-commerce freelancers. No one else really has this. And the timing helped there. So that's part of it. The second part of it is just getting that MVP out there and minimum viable product and really getting feedback early on and finding out what people liked, what services people wanted more of, what we could do to really perfect the experience on both the client side and the freelancer side. Because whenever you're building a marketplace, you kind of have a chicken and the egg situation where, like, what do you have too many clients, too many freelancers? And we had a competitive advantage because we had all these VAs and freelancers from our Amazon business that we already trusted. And then we could get them in there, get feedback from the clients, get feedback from the freelancers, and make adjustments. So we did a good job doing that. Another factor is just documenting the journey. We would share everything we were doing in our newsletter, on social media, what services we were offering, who we were hiring, what process we were building, what we were doing in our software. And I think a lot of people wanted to be along for the ride and really followed us through those 4 years, kind of like you do now on the podcast. Just how you create content matters. And the last thing that was really important, and I'll stop talking, is affiliates. We created an affiliate program for the freelancers where if they referred someone, they would get paid ongoing for every hour that person worked forever. And same thing on the client side. If clients referred, they'd get reoccurring. So on both sides, people would say, hey, I like FreeUp, and just tell everyone else about it. So we would just be getting constant referrals, and people that were on the platform, because leakage is a big issue with like Upwork and Fiverr, they would want to stay on the platform because the more people that they would refer, if those people stayed on the platform, they would keep making money as well. So it was like this big community that wanted to stay on the platform and wanted to keep building and wanted to keep growing with us.
And were most of the VAs that you guys have, what countries primarily? Was it primarily Philippines?
Yeah, I think the breakdown when we sold it was 40% Philippines, 40% US, and 20% scattered around the world. That wasn't necessarily by design. We knew a lot of people in the Philippines, so we got a ton of referrals from there, but we would get thousands of applicants every week and just let on the best of the best, regardless of where they were from. And it just ended up being that breakdown.
So, year four, $12 million in revenue. What made you want to exit? Did somebody did the I know the Hoff bought you guys out? Did they approach you? Were you guys in talks? Were you ready to sell and started? Maybe went to like an M&A broker and started going through the sales process. What did that peel back the onion there?
Yeah. So, and I had this conversation with someone yesterday. We build all our businesses to be sellable in the sense that they have really good teams, really good processes. I'm not personally in fulfillment, and they make money, or they hopefully make money, have good cash flow. So we were in the position going to year four where we had this super profitable business. It was really lean, right? There we didn't have an office, no overhead, some software costs, some team costs. That was pretty much it. And it was incredibly cash flow positive. I think you and I both live in the cash flow positive space, but a lot of companies are not cash flow positive. I work with e-commerce companies that are constantly buying inventory and selling it and all that. With us, we would get paid by the client, take our percentage, pay the freelancer on delay. So we always had cash on hand. So we were kind of in the position where, hey, we've gotten this to 12 million. Things are probably going to have to change if we were going to get it to 25 million. Maybe we would have to hire US people, hire an office, increase expenses, maybe find ourselves in a position where we're doing more revenue but making less money because we've had to increase expenses there. This was pre-COVID, so economy was at an all-time high, definitely a factor. And we got approached by one of our clients, the Hoth, who their message was, hey, we like FreeUp. We use FreeUp. We don't build businesses. We buy them, and we want to get into the freelance space. Would you guys be interested in being acquired? So we kind of heard them out. And like I said before, timing is a factor too. When we started, not much competition. By year four, lots of competition, lots of people trying to copy us. So all factors, and obviously the money is a factor too. They offered us life-changing money, and we did a lot of due diligence on them to make sure we were selling it to good people that weren't going to hurt our reputation or run the business into the ground or hurt our team. But that's kind of a little glimpse into what was going through our head and all the things that we were weighing at the time, pros and cons.
Yeah. Were you guys considered at the time when selling? Were you getting multiples as if you were a SaaS company?
kind of the in between. We were in kind of that 6 to 10 range. I think SaaS can go even above that if you have the right SaaS model.
Yep. And it's just you said it was you and you have a partner, right?
Yeah, we were 50-50 partners. We had a developer too that had a small equity percentage as well if the company sold.
Nice. And when you were doing, I don't know if you're allowed to share these numbers, but I'll ask anyways. When you were doing the $12 million, what were you guys netting? Like, what does a net look like at a company of that size?
Yeah, I won't share exact numbers because it's probably against our NDA, but I mean, we were
Yeah,
having months that were well over 100K in net profit. So the company was
that's
was
awesome.
doing pretty
Yeah.
well.
And what was, I guess, from the vision from the Hoth? What did they really want to do with the like? What did they actually do with it? Because I think when you sold it, honestly, I just stopped following. I stopped following it. I don't really know nothing about FreeUp for the last couple of years. So, like, what are they doing right now? What did the Hoth ended up? How they integrated into their ecosystem?
Yeah, the FreeUp's still running. Connor and I were just chatting about this the other day. It's approaching the 10-year mark, which is kind of cool. Like not many businesses hit the 10-year mark, even though we don't own it anymore. It's kind of a proud accomplishment of ours. And I mean, they own a conglomerate of businesses. The Hoth is the one everyone knows, but they really own 15 different companies, and they're constantly buying companies too. So they kind of saw two sides of it. One, they can offer it to their current client base and continue to grow it and offer freelancers and VAs, but all of a sudden they could get VAs and freelancers at cost for their other companies. So they now have gone and become FreeUp's biggest client and just have gotten all these VAs and freelancers to support their other companies and lower the overhead there. So that was kind of their mentality and why they were interested in it.
That's cool. That's that's actually genius. Uh,
Yeah. Smart,
so
right?
yeah, no, that's really cool. Okay, so you get all this money, and obviously we don't need to go into details, but if you guys were doing $12 million in revenue and your multiple, was 6 to 10 points on that, whatever your EBITDA was, like we can imagine, obviously that it was life changing money. You're talking about, I'm assuming multiple seven figures or eight figures was the exit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was life changing money. I could probably not work for the next 40 years and be fine, depending on what I decide to do with money. But
Yeah,
yeah, it allowed me to buy a second house. My wife and I became foster parents. I moved to Colorado.
amazing.
Um, I think one thing that doesn't really get talked about is like the original plan was to take a year off and travel. I didn't think I would see Connor for a year. I thought he'd be traveling the world, but we sold it in November 2020, COVID or 2019. Sorry, COVID hit like 5 months after that. So then we
Wow.
were in a weird spot where we were stuck inside like everyone else with nothing to do and no business ideas. All we had done for 4 years was 24/7 FreeUp, and so we kind of had to start brainstorming, or we didn't have to, but we decided to start brainstorming business ideas before we probably would have if COVID hadn't happened.
Dude, I think just as entrepreneurs, like most people say that they'll sell and they want to retire, right? Put in air quotes. Um, it's very hard to do that because when you retire, you really just sit at home. And for us as entrepreneurs, like we want to do things. It's like a game. I just interviewed Alex Sharfin yesterday on our podcast, and we were literally talking about how business is like a game. Like there's levels, and you just want to just keep going and achieving, and like it's like playing Mario or whatever. It's trying to get to this next world, right? And I think for you, I'm assuming now your next world is accounts balance, ecom balance. I know you have the two brands, right? I know you just launched an SEO company, I think, not too long ago. So, like, I know that when you say portfolio, how do you structure this portfolio? Is it just, are you just going to keep building these brands, setting up these processes, getting them scaled up to a certain amount, whatever that amount is, and then putting leadership in place?
Yeah, we're kind of flipping that. We put the leadership in place first. So we're on the hunt
Mm,
for operators. We have all these
cool.
business ideas. And when we find the right operator, that's when we actually go and implement and start it. So, like bookkeeping, I'm not a bookkeeper. Connor's not a bookkeeper. So if we're going to start a bookkeeping business, we need a bookkeeper. We look
Yeah.
for a while to find our controller with a lot of experience and someone who's run a bookkeeping business before. And when we did, we put her in charge. We built around her. We hired a team around her, built the marketing process, all the stuff that we know how to do. But Connor and I aren't doing the bookkeeping from day one, and we're really out of operations. And did the same thing with SEO. Looked for a year plus. Finally found Steven Snyder, a really good SEO guy. Ran an SEO agency before again, and put him in charge and built the team around him. So that's kind of what we're always looking for. And you're right. It is kind of a game. Like hopefully none of these businesses
Yeah.
fail, and I still want them to succeed. But
Of
if they
course.
do, it's not like I'm going to be homeless on the street. But
Yeah.
we're treating it as something that's fun. We want it to succeed. If it does succeed, it helps a lot of other people, our team, our clients, but besides us. And we're kind of looking for those opportunities of how do we find something boring like bookkeeping, like SEO, outsource school, like stuff that isn't creating the next Uber, but that we can just go into the market, take our small percentage, have a really good customer service experience behind it, a really good operator, and spin it up and see what happens. And that's kind of the fun part.
And these businesses that you're building, what do you? Because you've built a couple of them already. You just named three of them. Um, how long does it usually get to the point where it's like, 'cause when you know, from idea to actually like iteration phase, like especially if you're building software, it takes time, right? How long do these businesses take to just get off the ground to where you can actually start selling the product?
So I am always in the mentality to sell as soon as humanly possible, with the caveat that you tell the initial people like, "Hey, I'm going to hook you up on price or something free, some kind of promo in exchange for feedback, understanding the process is going to break, hopefully a testimonial once we actually hit the ground running." And so, even to back up, this is what kind of frustrated me when I would go to entrepreneurship communities in Florida. Everyone would be like, "All right, once I get $500,000, once I raise all this money, then I'll go out and get a client. Then I'll go out and like prove it." And to me, it's always
Yeah.
backwards. It's like, I'll prove it, I'll sell it. And if I can't sell it or I can't give it away for free, like for accounts balance, econ balance, we gave out 2 free months of bookkeeping. If I can't give out 2 free months of bookkeeping, there's probably no market. Or if I can't give out 2 free months of bookkeeping and keep those clients around afterwards, again, probably not a good business idea. So even like FreeUp, we gave out free VA hours. Outsource School, we gave a discount to people who bought pre-sale before we even built the course. So we had sales before we even actually built everything. That's kind of been my mentality for every business is like prove you can get sales and everything else you can build as long as you set the right expectations with those initial clients and treat them well and have that trust factor. So they spin up pretty quick. There's always a low period after you get those beta clients where you don't want to grow too fast and add a lot of people before you build out all the processes. But that's kind of how we approach it.
And these three brands that you have right now, what's like team size for each one of them? How big are they?
Yeah. Outdoor School's super lean. We've got 3 VAs there. One of them is part time. Econ Balance, probably a little bit different than other businesses we've run because it's like a bookkeeping service and bookkeepers behind it. So we've got about 15 bookkeepers and a controller. And we actually have a marketing team that works on Connor and my personal brand and all the companies. So the expenses
Gotcha.
for that is split between the companies. And then at Trio SEO is small. It's like 6 people now.
Gotcha. And what's like? I know you and your partner Connor. What do you do? What does Connor do? What's like? Because there's always like in these partnerships. I'm assuming you guys are not holding the same role or doing the same thing. Like who's good at what? What do you guys do when you log in the morning?
Yeah, I'm much more on the operations, customer service, face podcast, stuff like that. We both have personal brands that we use, but inside the company, Connor's much more on the marketing team, the creating content, and then working with the developers as well. He's more out of the operations.
Got you. And are any of the companies that you're running right now? Are you running paid ads, or are you still using organic to kind of grow it?
Still using organic. So we have this crazy idea for like our media company, just for lack of a better word, where Connor and I use our personal brands to promote these different businesses, and we kind of have stepping stones. So we got kind of the foundation in place early this year and end of last year, where we've got graphic designers, video editors, social media people, and then really the next step off of that is how do you improve strategy? How do you incorporate paid ads? So it's something that's on our horizon. It's probably my weakness as an entrepreneur. It's something that we've never really conquered. I think part of it is we never really had to conquer it. We've been in positions where we've gotten more clients than we know what to do with without it. But I do see the benefit of it, and I do see opportunity there. And some of it's also the business model. Like FreeUp is just a hard business to run ads to because it's a lot of stop and start. Someone might hear about you today, create a free account, need a freelancer in 6 months. Some people might hire someone full time. Some people might be project based, ongoing. So it's hard to measure like ROI on ads. Whereas like Outsource School would be way better for that because you can track how
Instant.
many course sales you get.
Yeah, that's instant. It's funny because we're very similar. In fact, I believe 99% of our traffic and signups come from organic, whereas like a slither comes from ads. We barely even run ads. In fact, we just really started running ads. We brought on an ads person that's just doing ads for Dashflix now full time. and we started with Facebook and IG, and this was like maybe like a couple of months ago, like 3 4 months ago, and we've been in business for like 6 years.
Yeah.
So it's like organic for me is fun. Hey, real quick, if you're a marketing agency or a B2B service or software provider, DashClicks offers white label fulfillment services and software to businesses just like yourself. Go ahead and create your free DashClicks account. I went ahead and left a link in the show notes, or you can just go to dashclicks.com. What's your favorite? Let's peel the onion back here, because this is my cup of tea now. What's your favorite organic channel that you see, that maybe not your favorite, but what works best for you guys? What brings you guys the most revenue and leads?
Yeah, so we have this organic marketing blueprint. And if anyone wants to grab it, go to outsourceschool.com/organic marketing. And it's really the same thing we've been running for years. Number one is podcasts like this. Podcasts are great. You get in front of thousands of people at once. You can repurpose it into other content. It's good for networking. Like you and I know each other, but for plenty of times I'll go on podcasts and meet someone that is an influencer in a space that I never really would have met if I wasn't on the podcast. It's good for SEO. I don't think that gets talked about enough. Backlinks. Hopefully you add backlinks for all of our companies in the show notes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so SEO or podcast is a big part.
Question for
SEO. Sorry,
Before
jump
you,
in.
yeah, quick question, because I want to say one thing about the podcast. So your podcast strategy, you guys have your own podcast, or are you just jumping on other people's podcasts?
Other people's podcasts. So we had we created a podcast in year like the beginning of year 4 in FreeUp. So we had it for like 6 months or so, maybe more, before we sold the company. So I personally am trying to create businesses that don't require me to say, hey, you got to be here at this specific time. So I don't want to be a podcast host. It's the same reason I'm retired from conferences and any work travel. I'm really only interested in running businesses that don't require me be anywhere at a certain time. And I'll go on podcasts, and I didn't reschedule on you, but like if I can't do it, I'll easily reschedule and stuff like that. I don't know. For me, being a podcast host just doesn't really interest me.
And the people that bring you onto podcasts, is it just people that invite you, or do you have some? Because I know a lot of companies actually hire a company that will get you on just a bunch of podcasts.
So we have a podcast outreach formula that you can, it's part of Outsource School. You can grab it separately, outsourceschool.com/podcast. And it's essentially how to have a VAB or podcast booker. So you can hire different companies. We've done that in the past. For me, I always ran into issues because I'm pretty good at getting on podcasts. So I'd hire these companies and say, I'll pay you, but you can only get me on top podcasts that I approve. And they didn't really like that much. So we kind of got away from that. And now I do less podcasts. I'm a little bit pickier on podcasts that I go on. So I don't do that much outreach. Usually it's people reaching out to me or someone connecting me with someone, something along those lines.
Gotcha. So, okay, so podcast, I know the next one you're about to jump into is SEO, right? And I know
Yep.
that I think Connor's like an SEO whiz.
Yeah, Connor has just been crushing SEO. Really, when we started FreeUp, he just dove into that and became a master. And if you go to like any of our blogs, ecombalance.com/blog, outsourceschool.com/blog, we just put out really high quality content from the day one of the company and continue to rank over time and compete against the giants with really good SEO. So I know you're an SEO guy. You get that, but our blog is just always running in the background. Off of that is partnerships. We're big proponent of that. Again, any of our sites/partners, you can see our partner directory. That's kind of a quick hack that we build out. And it's good for backlinks, which is also good for SEO, but it's good to just get in front of other people's audiences. We have all these lead magnets, and we'll go to someone and say, hey, promote ours to your newsletter, vice versa. And we're always trying to do guest posts, blog articles, videos, whatever mutual distribution we can do of stuff. So partnerships is a big piece there. I don't know if you want to jump in before I keep going.
No, dude. Yeah, keep going, man. Yeah, this is the stuff that turns me on. So
Yeah.
for it.
Me too. Social media. I know your social media game is strong. I like to think mine is okay too. So we're constantly posting on all social media sites, and I have a social media team now that helps for that. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. So
I have a question on that too.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that one, because that's something that I'm working on right now. In fact, with this podcast, my whole strategy, I've been doing organic marketing, and I think one of my, I guess I'll say, talents, or something that I've been just doing it for a long time, is creating content and finding good ways to repurpose it, right? So just redistributing it across many different channels. So for this podcast, as an example, we basically shoot these podcasts, and then I have an admin that basically runs my whole podcast, and she'll actually take the podcast, She'll chop it up. We put it on YouTube. We put it on Transistor, which distributes it to like 20 different networks. Then we create reels out of it, and then we create blogs from the podcast, post that to our actual website, and obviously all the reels go across all socials. Um, what's your strategy for content? Because I'm doing this now, and maybe I can learn something that you're doing that I can kind of plug into my ecosystem. Like, what's working now that's crushing it? I know I hear all this talk about viral. I'm trying to go viral, right? Trying to get viral videos on TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff. I just had Rachel Miller on. We did a whole talk about creating like viral organic content. But what's your spin on it? What are you doing? What's the secret sauce?
Yeah, I love Rachel. She's the best. She's another person that started like
Awesome.
right when I was starting at FreeUp. So it's
Yeah.
been cool to see her grow. Yeah, for me, I tend to focus less on what is the latest hack of each particular platform. My team's always doing research and I kind of leave that on them. It's more about putting out consistently good content. And again, keeping it simple, focusing on the fundamentals, which is a strong hook, really good content that actually helps people around my brand of keeping entrepreneurship simple and using my systems, and some kind of call to action, usually my lead magnets or one of my websites, or an offer or something like that. So we have this big database of content. I think that's my biggest tip is as you're making content, make sure you're keeping track of it in some way and you can reuse it and repurpose it. And for me, I'm kind of doing the same thing as you are, where instead of my own podcast, I go on these podcasts. I asked you before for the raw footage. We'll take that,
Right.
we'll chop it up, we'll do the same thing. And everything can be used in lots of different ways. Like I'll have a video that'll also be a text that will also turn into a carousel, and it's a lot of testing and experimenting and trying. Rachel's probably the expert in going viral over me, but for me, it's just consistently putting out good content on channels and then having a system with my team that's connecting with relevant people, people who are clients, people who are leads, people who are partners. So I'm connected with you hopefully on all these different channels that you're also on and getting in
Yep.
front of the same people over and over and over again.
And when you create, let's say at the end of this I give you this raw video, you hand it off to your team. um, they're just going to chop it up, they're going to create a bunch of reels, and where are they posting it? What channels are you really just are you district like the norm? Is it TikTok, IG, Facebook reels? What are you doing with the content? Where do you put it?
Yeah, so they'll make long footage, 5 to 10 minutes of this, and put it on YouTube. Each of our companies have a different YouTube channel. I have my own personal YouTube channel, so it just depends on what the content is. I'm wearing an accounts balance shirt, so they'll probably try to put it on the accounts balance channel. And yeah, then the reels, like you said, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'll turn the 1 minute clips. I'll put them all on YouTube as well. They all get put there,
Shorts.
and then we'll put them on like LinkedIn once a week. Not as much, but we experiment with video and carousels and everything on LinkedIn as well.
Which channel do you think brings you guys the most traffic?
For me personally, my Facebook and my LinkedIn are ahead of the others. If I could do it over again. So when I sold FreeUp, I kind of just took a break from social media. I just disappeared off of it. If I could do it over
Dude,
again,
I do the same thing.
yeah, if I would have started just building all these brands. Like Instagram's always been kind of that middle one, and then I kind of ignored Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. And so we're kind of playing catch up on those and just kind of letting it play out and being consistent. But most of it right now is Facebook and LinkedIn, and the other ones are starting to see traction now.
And you have basically all of these social channels for each one of the brands, plus you also have your personal brand at the same time, and Connor's.
Yeah,
So
yes and no. So like we'll have a Facebook page and a LinkedIn page, but that's not a big source of traffic. It's not something we put a lot of effort into.
gotcha.
We'll
Okay.
have a YouTube for every single company that we put more effort into, and then Connor and I really use our personal brands on the different channels to drive the traffic.
So you're saying personal brands is really where most of these posts are going at, where all the content's getting pushed out into.
Correct. And then we'll have blogs for each of our company where we'll put out content there as well. Connor and my strategy is use our personal brand to promote or funnel people to the different businesses.
Dude, it's working. I mean, you're running organic companies that are doing millions of dollars in sales. People can't even do that with ads.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hopefully you and I
So
figure out ads out. It'll be fun.
yeah. Well, I'm working. Well, I'm technically not working on it. Somebody's working on it, but hopefully they figure it out. But I'm just the dude who creates a bunch of videos for him. So I got another question for you. So you have all of these processes that you guys have. You have multiple different companies. Where do you have, or where are you putting AI in place? Are you
Yeah,
using, like, for me, like, I'll just to kind of like get this convo started about all AI. Like for me, I would love to use AI to take these videos and chop them up into reels with like Opus.ai or like all these other different AI tools. Are you using AI? Are you taking advantage of it?
We're using AI in certain things. So a big thing that we try to do is empower our team to be testing and do research and development and be using AI. There's a lot of stuff in operations that we're able to use AI to benefit. So an example of that is our bookkeepers are very good at bookkeeping. They're not the best at like writing emails to clients. So we want a really good client experience. So we've used AI to help them create templates and baselines to kind of get over that hump of being scared to email people. So that's part of it too. But like in content creation, well, we have different AI tools for like our SEO business for creating outlines and stuff. We still use real writers to write the articles, but there'll be parts in the process that we're using AIs to save us time and research and really taking
Sure.
data and putting it together. And then our own content, like I won't really use AI because I'm not editing the videos, but our video editors will use AI, incorporate that in the process, and they're always keeping track of how things change. So it's more about empowering my teams to do it. And kind of similar to like you, I find myself sometimes where I'm the guy creating videos and I'm just passing to my team and they're kind of going through the process that I created. Now, if you go back 6 months ago, I was taking the video, I was uploading that, I was building a process, and then I hired a team to do it. So I've kind of been able to take a step back and empower my team to take that over.
Yep. Another question I have for you is I know you're working on three different brands right now, and maybe some others that you got up your sleeve that you're probably working on. How do you have the time to work on multiple companies and still make them successful? It's very difficult to do that. I know that because like right now we run two companies. We run Dash Clicks, and then we run our marketing agency, social agency, which has just been open since '09, right? And but how do you do that with multiple different companies?
Yeah, so this has kind of been our like personal challenge because before, if you go to FreeUp, all it was for 4 years was eat, sleep, breathe, FreeUp. We didn't think of it. We weren't brainstorming other ideas. We weren't working on anything else. We didn't have side projects. It was just FreeUp 24/7, and
Yeah,
it's great because we exited and all that. But it could have also gone in the other direction where you put all your eggs in one basket. It doesn't work, and that happens to lots of entrepreneurs.
yep,
So from our side, we like the diversification, and it really comes down to the operators. If Connor and I were in the operations of 3+ different businesses, we'd be stressed out all the time. We wouldn't have any time to do anything else. So really removing ourselves and empowering our team to like put out fires, make decisions, like implement technology, buy things that they need. And that's a big part of it. And really just run high level strategy or like bigger issues by us where we can have like 3 meetings on a Monday, go through each company, meet with the operators and put things in place that they'll go implement for the next year and or the next week. And for us, really being able to focus a lot on the customer experience, the strategy, the hiring, and then the marketing and working on our brand. So we'll spend 50% plus of our time on the marketing, on the strategy, on the content and working with those teams because we know the operators are in place. And then the other 50% we can divide between the companies, really helping the operators make decisions. They become operators because they have an entrepreneur spirit. They like entrepreneurship, but they don't want the risk and having to like put their own skin in the game and stuff like that. So we balance that out by saying, hey, based on our experience, this is what we would do. These are the hires we should make. Here's where you should be posting the job. Here's what you should factor in. Here's how you should run this meeting or solve this problem, and then empower them to do it. So we almost find ourselves as like executives or consultants on the operating side, helping them and then empowering them, and then spending most of our time on the marketing. And when we're doing on the marketing, that goes into all three companies. We're spreading out our content to help all three companies get clients, if that makes sense.
yeah, it's genius. Yeah, it's great. And I think a lot of your companies, they're in the similar space. They serve very kind of similar people, right? So it's easy to also cross sell in between a lot of the companies that you're doing. Like I'm assuming like accounts balance and your SEO company can easily cross sell to each other.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. That's my favorite part when you have a client that
it's
signs up for
fast,
all
yeah,
three or two out of the three or whatever.
yeah. Like in Dashflix, we have three. Dashflix is like this. I feel like the way that we look at it is like almost this umbrella, but within Dashflix, there's really three businesses. And if you're like looking at Dashflix in the back end, it's run by like there's three different leadership people. It's like there's teams that are built out, and we have our software, right, which is like our development team and our QA and all that stuff, right. We have our fulfillment, right, which is all of our fulfillment guys, the guys that are like literally doing SEO and Facebook ads and all that stuff. And then we have our coaching side, which is like our education products, our coaching program courses, things like that, right? And then what's really cool about it is once somebody comes into that umbrella, they literally just go like a ping pong ball in between. They start eating up all of the products, right? So it allows us to move super fast. We don't basically have to acquire three clients. We just acquire one as an example, and they'll start buying multiple things. People will come in and purchase fulfillment and then jump and start using our software or buy our coaching programs, right, and stuff like that. So it's been a pretty cool journey for us to be able to position that, and that's basically what we want to scale out and hopefully one day exit, right? I think everybody has the same thing in mind. So
Love it.
so three businesses with one exit. Where do you see yourself, like, 1 2 years, or is your goal to just keep building like these portfolio companies and see how big you can get this portfolio to?
Yeah, absolutely. That's really the goal. We have other ideas that I probably won't share, but things that
Yeah,
if we
no,
find the
you
right
heard what she.
operator, we'll implement. And if that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm just enjoying it. I think I told you I'm a new dad. It sounds like you are as well. So
Yep.
trying to balance it. Like I took a paternity leave at the end of last year, and just trying to not even trying, like if you free up, I was young, I was hustling 24/7. Like now I'm done at 3. I don't work weekends, I don't travel for work, so I kind of have like my thing that I'm doing every single day, but then I'm also able to just live and enjoy life and everything kind of around it. And that's my goal, is to hopefully own 10 companies but not be working 80 hours a week on them.
Yeah, I love that. Is your goal to, when you want to do this exit, is your goal to exit with the entire portfolio, or are you going to sell these companies separately? Like, do you guys have like a vision for how you want to attack the exit?
So we build them to be sellable, but we're not pushing to sell them. Like we'll listen if someone comes with an offer for all companies, one company, two company, we'll hear them out and make the best decision possible. I mean, the other thing to keep in mind is, like, if I hadn't have sold free up, that would be probably a different answer too, because then you want to like get your first exit, cash out a little bit. Now we're in the position where, sure, if someone knocks our socks off or for whatever reason we don't want to own another company, we would do it, but we don't have to do it. We'd rather just keep it, buy it, and hold it. And the people that bought the Hoth, Mark Hargrove and David Martin, have kind of become mentors to us as well. And they kind of just buy and hold companies, kind of like I do with stocks. Like I just buy a stock and I just hold on to it for the rest of my life. I'm not really buying and trading and day trading and all of that. And I kind of look at business the same way. But I mean, if I see a stock that's crazy overvalued, sure, I'd consider selling it. Or if I get an offer that I think is really high and worth doing, I'll consider it. But the goal is to be out of operations, have a profitable cash flowing business that doesn't require a lot of my time, and build a portfolio of those. And then whatever happens from there happens.
Yeah, I love that. I want to ask one more question. I know we're running out of time here, but another question that I have, because I'm always curious about these. I had Mikhail Dia from Funalytics come on. He was talking about his whole funding process. He raised, I think he said it was $3.3 million. He was telling us the whole story. It was such good content. And is it something that I'm truly interested in, right? And also the exit side, right? So, like, when you were exiting, what did the process look like? Like, let's say, like, they reached out to you, right? And you were like, cool, let's do this. We want to sell. Like, how long was that time frame? What did the process look like? Was it a headache? Was it hell? Like, can you walk me through that?
Definitely. One quick note on funding. I'm very anti-funding. I don't want to go to bed at night knowing that I'm working with other people's money. That seems stressful. I'd rather go slower with my own money and only be risking my own stuff. I don't want to be reporting to other people or have
I
investors
like
or
that.
anything like that. So
I'm a
that's not my
bootstrap too,
thing.
so I get it.
Yeah, so they reached out to us and they had an initial call with us and asked us some like high level questions about the company. And they were clients of the company too, so they were already very familiar with it, with how it worked. From there, they ended up making us an offer and submitting an LOI. And Connor and I talked about it for a while, went through the pros and cons that you and I went over, and made a decision to accept it. And
How
then
long
the
did
the
that
due
take?
diligence,
Like, how
what?
long did you sit on that? How long did you sit on that?
Probably like 2 weeks, like a week or two. Like we didn't want
That's a
to
big
take too
decision,
long,
dude.
but
That's your, like, a baby, right? It's like
right.
it's like Dashing's like my baby, right? So it's a hard decision. So 2 weeks, made a decision. Obviously, the decision was yes. What happened from there?
Yeah, and we went into it saying, hey, we're going to act the entire time like this deal's not going through. That means we're going to stay focused on growing this business. We know they could drop out at any second. And on the flip
Hmm.
side, if the deal does go through, there's no regrets. We're making the best decision possible based on the information that we had. And if they go turn FreeUp into $1 billion company, like we can't be pissed off about that either. So that was our mentality, and we were both very much on the same page. But then the due diligence began, and it was supposed to be 30, 60 days, ended up being 6 months. It was the most stressful 6 months of my life. I mean, they're firing over questions at us. We're sending questions right back to them. We wanted to know everything about them, what they were going to do with FreeUp, their past deals, their net worth, everything. That was the best advice we got, is to vet them as hard as they were going to vet us. And the beauty of us, of what our setup is, we had everything ready to go. They would fire us 20 questions. We would respond same day. We had clean financials going back 4 years. We had numbers for everything. We had detailed SOPs, and they even told us that we responded faster than anyone else they had ever gone through a deal with, because we just had all the processes. We knew our numbers really well. So that was a few weeks back and forth of questions. And then the lawyers got involved. And that's when it just grinded to a slow stop. I mean, for us, it was the biggest moment of our life. For our lawyers, it's another Tuesday. They're doing these deals all the time. Sure. They go on vacation. They have other stuff, projects that come up. And it wasn't really their fault or our fault. Both lawyers were great, in my opinion. But their lawyers are trying to protect them. Our lawyers are trying to protect us, going back and forth over every little detail. And every day we'd wake up and we're like, hey, are we going to get an email that the deal's off? Or are we going to get more red lines from one of the lawyers saying, hey, we need to go through this part? And like months and months went by going back and forth. And finally, there were like 2 or 3 things that we were not on the same page from. And there was a possibility the deal was going to fall through. And I just went around the lawyers. I called those owners and I said, can we just try to meet in the middle on these 3 things? And we talked on the phone for 2 hours. Agreed on them, told the lawyers what it was, and said no more conversation there. And Connor ended up flying to Orlando, where I was. We drove down to Tampa, where they were, met at their headquarters, signed the documents, and they wired us the money. And it was 6 months of just craziness.
Dude, what does it feel like when that wire hit the bank? Sign of relief? Or because that's dude, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people work for a long time to make big chunks of change, life changing. And it's like, is it like a breath of fresh air? It's like, oh my God, like, I am okay now.
There were 3 feelings. One was the relief that the process was over and just like joy and all that. There was a second feeling. If you go back to my Amazon business, so we didn't talk about this. At the beginning, we thought we were going to take down Amazon. We thought we were young, we were immature. We thought we were going to be like this next e-commerce giant. And we grew too fast. We hired too many people. We ended up, as Amazon got harder and more competitive and Amazon changed its algorithm, we ended up laying off a lot of people that really cared about us and put a lot of work into the company. And that like ate at us for years. It was like a big failure that was in the back of our minds. And this was like coming over that failure. It was like, all right, like the Amazon business, we went through it. We learned a lot. We implemented FreeUp. FreeUp is only around because that Amazon business failed. So it was kind of like that feeling of redemption, that all that hard work and all that failure had finally amounted to something. And then third was just the emotions. We had to tell our team right after that. And we loved our team. I'm still talk to them all the time. They're great. And we had to tell them that we were selling the company, and they were sad. We took $500,000 from the sale and gave it to our team, our internal team in the Philippines, and made sure they were taken care of. And I think once they kind of saw the money, they were a little less upset, but like everyone's like, all right, am I going to lose my job? And you can tell them a million times you're not going to lose your job, but in the back of their mind, they're all thinking that. So we made sure that the new owners were going to take really good care of them, but we had to have a Zoom with them and tell them and go through all that. So it's kind of 3 different things going through our head at the same time.
Did your employees or your team know that you were selling the company when you were in the process, or did you have to just kind of like hold it down and just wait until the end?
One of the more interesting things is we put a hard line that they couldn't talk to anyone on our team before the sale. We didn't want our team to know. We didn't tell our team. We made sure that our team was going to be taken care of. And if we couldn't secure their jobs and give them a lot of money, then we would not have gone through with the deal. But I don't know if I would buy a business without being able to meet the internal team. So I think the fact that we spoke highly of them, we showed them all of our SOPs, they had used FreeUp, so they had the experience. And I think that the fact that we were giving our team a lot of money kind of showed that we like our team, obviously. So I think they put a lot of trust into that. So our team really had no idea. They were pretty shocked.
And then one last question, and we're going to wrap it up. When you exit a company for that amount, there's always that tax that you have to pay the government. What does that whole process look like? Do you just get instantly taxed at the end of the year after that big sale? Did you do some type of like exchange where you can invest? Like, how does that process work?
Yeah, so it's a good question. You definitely get a tax bill at the end of the year. It's something that we planned for. I've always been someone that like holds back money for taxes. I've never really had a big issue with that. I mean, I'm also just like a decently frugal person. Like I bought a house, but it's not like I went out and bought 5 different cars and like spent all this money. Like I put the money into the S&P 500 and like a bunch of CDs. I'm pretty boring. So like we have the money, we pay taxes on it. Like whenever you do these deals, you have the money up front and then you have the earn out. And the earnout can be dangerous too. One of the advice that I tell people is make sure you're good with the upfront money because the earnout's not guaranteed. If they run the business into the ground, you might not see it. Now, luckily, that didn't happen.
Context on there. Put context on there really quick. What do you mean by earnout? What is
so if you sell a company for $5 million, most deals you're not just getting $5 million up front. Maybe you'll get half up front or a third up front. Or I don't know how familiar you are with the aggregator space. There were all these e-commerce aggregators that bought up all these Amazon sellers, but they did it on really bad terms for the Amazon sellers. You might be doing a $5 million deal, but 10% of that you're getting up front and the rest is earn out, and the earn out's based on performance. Well, all these aggregators had no idea how to run an Amazon business, ran all these businesses in the ground, and people lost their business, and didn't really get much out of it. So make sure you structure the deals. From our side, we approached it like, hey, this money up front is still really good. If we don't get the earn out, we're treating the earn out as a bonus. Luckily, we got the earn out. But the good thing about an earn out that you actually get is you're taxed in different years. So the earn out was spread out over the next 3 years. We got half up front with a big tax bill, wow. And then you'd pay the taxes as you go, if that makes sense.
And when it was spread out into the 3 years, you said it was performance based. Were you on? Like, did you? By the way, also maybe add some context. Did you have to stay on for a specific amount of time after the sale?
Yeah, good question. We wanted out. So I have my mentality again, just like I don't want to report to investors. I don't want to work for someone else. So if I was going to sell FreeUp, I'm happy to like answer questions here and there. Like I want FreeUp to succeed. I want it to be a win-win deal. But I want to be out of there in like 30, 60 days. And they're also not new entrepreneurs. They've done these deals before. So they know once you sell it, the owners want to be out. I think our contract said 60 days. We were probably out of there in 30 days. They wanted us out of there and we wanted the same thing. So we were out of there pretty quick. Here and there, they'd hit us up with questions or our advice, and we were happy to do that. But we did not want to stay on. I have a buddy, I won't tell his name, but he sold a larger business than FreeUp, and his contract was like, hey, he's got to be up working for them for 3 years. And I told him after the sale, I'm like, dude, are you sure? You're going to hate this. Like, you are not going to want to work for this company for 3 years. And sure enough, a year in, he renegotiated and got out, and he said that was the worst year of his life. So be careful staying on. And to go back to your point, another thing with earnouts you don't want to do is make it so that they're based on the business doing better, right? Like you only get the earnout if we grow from 5 million to 10 million. Like that's pretty risky.
That's what I was going to ask you. So are you allowed to say what the earnout performance was?
Yeah. So the best way to do it, in my opinion, and what's fair for both sides, is you do it a percentage of revenue. So every month the company has revenue, you're just getting a small percentage of that up to a certain amount with a certain length of time. So 4 or 5 years, you get a percentage, and then it's good for both sides because if the business does really well, you're getting your earnout money faster, and if the business does poorly, unless they just shut down tomorrow, you're still getting paid each of those months until it does get shut down.
Wow. Dude, I learned a lot on here. All right, I know we're out of time. I know I can go on for days. Nathan, if somebody's interested in anything that you said today on the podcast, where's the best places they can hit you up?
Yeah, check me out, Nathan Hirsch, on any social media channel. If you're an agency listening and you need bookkeeping, check out Accounts Balance or Hiring Outsource School. And appreciate you having me on.
Of course, man. Thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Hey, do you want more of the Behind the Revenue podcast? Look, join our private Facebook group where marketing agencies from all over the world are sharing strategies, network, and scale their businesses together. Visit facebook.com/groups/dashclicks to get instant access. And also, if this podcast helped you in any way, please do me a favor, share it with friends, leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify. That really helps build our community.